Hello, and welcome to Sideways. It wasn't until we'd finished recording this week's episode that I realised I hadn't pressed the record button. So we did it all again, and it was just as shambolic the second time as it had been the first. I expect we're the sorts of people you look up to. Inspiration. Have we ever done an episode on picking yourself up after really disappointing things that have happened?
Well, no, we haven't, and there's a lot in there, I'm sure.
I mean, just for example, imagine spending 3/4 of an hour recording a really good episode of a podcast and then realising that you hadn't been recording it at all. That would, the sort of thing the sort of way that would leave you feeling, and then how you would pick yourself up from that. Have we ever done that?
Well, it's an amateur way to behave, but I see it more as it's one of those rare occasions we've had a read through before we've done the recording. Rehearsal, yeah.
Anyway, dear listener, I expect you can guess from this preamble what's happened. I don't know how that happened. I mean, usually it's happened once before, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
So, and I was just thinking as I was getting myself some coffee, just thinking, how can I blame this on Martin? I couldn't think of anything. I think I'm going to have to take responsibility for this one.
Well, you push the record button from your end.
All right, don't make it worse. I just said I'm taking responsibility. Don't drive it home.
I have no input upon that, so you should feel terrible about it. You've wasted your time. You've let yourself down, to be honest, haven't you? But luckily, I'm resilient.
Actually, the only way I would have let myself down would have been if I'd said, "That's it, I'm not doing it
ever again." Throw your toys out the pram.
Well, not ever again. But if I'd said, "No, I'm not," because we've gone straight back into it about 10 minutes later, which at the moment feels quite hard. But I think had I decided that I couldn't do that, I would have been letting myself down. So I think everybody listening, we're probably quite inspirational, aren't we?
This was inspired, if you like, by a brief text message exchange we had back in December. Yeah, you'd been watching The Repair Shop on BBC One, which well, at the time I was watching Barrow versus Ipswich on ITV4, so we weren't quite in the same ballpark. But you said that it always made you feel cheerful. Yeah, and I said yes, I agree. I always feel quite inspired. It's quite inspirational. And we realised at that point we hadn't done an episode on inspiration, so here it is.
Yeah, yeah. It does make me feel inspired because it's a combination of things that people are watching people do things that I can't do, and some of the stories are inspirational. Some of the ways in which people have kind of kept the memory of other people alive through objects and pieces of art. It's lovely. I don't understand anyone who doesn't like that program. I think if you don't like The Repair Shop, then quite frankly, you've got a black heart.
That's taken it a little bit too far, but I do agree. It's a nice watch. It's an easy watch, and you do come away feeling quite good about yourself. So, yeah. Before we start, though, there's a couple of points I just wanted to talk to you about. Yeah. The first one was that you very kindly sent me a link to the recent episode of The Archers, which is on Radio 4, which is carrying the storyline or the ongoing storyline of Alice, who's struggling with her alcoholism. And that particular link you sent me, the storyline at that point is very common, and it comes up a lot in groups. I mean, in this instance, Alice, she goes off and buys a couple of bottles of vodka and intends to go and get completely sozzled. So she goes off to the playground, I think sits on the swings or whatever. But she does exactly the right thing at that point. That she reaches out and she texts her friend, Amy, before she opens them. Yeah. Perhaps in hindsight, if she'd texted them before she'd actually bought the vodka, it would saved her a bit of money. But she did the right thing. And it's so important. Because it's very easy to contact people once you've opened that bottle. And I've received phone calls from people that are well on the way to being completely drunk. And that's not the way to do it. Neither of us get anything from it at that point. But to do it beforehand, which Alice did in this occasion, and got her friend to come over and help her.
Give her a push on the swings.
Give her a push on the swing. Yeah. Whiz her around on the roundabout. So that cheer you up. You don't need vodka. Look at this.
Yeah, I can remember listening to that. And I think I said to you in a message that one of the things that came out in that episode, which was kind of morning after she bought the 2 big bottles of vodka, which reminded me of you. But she's one of the things that was really, really dismayed her was the thought that she would have to endure that sort of temptation and then overcome it for the rest of her life. And, you know, it made me think, crikey, that must be terrifying when you're in the early stages of recovery, to think that you're going to be constantly having to battle that, you know, to get to that point where you think, no, I'm going to have a drink, and you go and buy a drink, and then you've got to pull yourself back from the brink. I mean, just thinking about it is exhausting. It must be awful to be in that position.
It is a terrifying thought. And I think it unfortunately, it does stop people going into recovery in the first place, because they can't envisage a life ahead without alcohol being in it. And so it is a big barrier. And certainly in the early stages of recovery, coming to terms with the fact that abstinence is the only way forward is tough, which is why we try and do it in small chunks, and to do it, you know, say in the old phrase of taking one day at a time, it helps to sort of not think about that.
Yeah.
And I always used to joke and say, when I first went into recovery, I said, well, I'll review this again when I'm 60, because I was 50 at the time when I went into, and now I've gone past 60. And so I've re-reviewed it and said, right, I'll review it again when I'm 75. It sort of bites, it segments it up, and it makes it easier to come to terms with, yeah. But you get to the point in recovery where you don't, even if it was available to you, you think, well, my life's so much better without it anyway. Even if they said, yeah, there's a magic pill, you're no longer an alcoholic, off you go and lead your life. At my point in my recovery, I'd choose not to partake anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't give you anything now, would it?
No, it wouldn't.
It wouldn't give you anything that you don't already have, apart from a headache.
It would take an awful lot away.
Yeah,
it would take everything away eventually. So no, it is, but it's a very important point. It is a fear, and it's one that takes a while to overcome. But once you do, recovery then becomes a joy.
Yeah.
But the second point I wanted to just chat to you about before we start was we had a bit of feedback from Aaron, one of our regular listeners.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a fact that probably only Aaron would have picked up upon. But last week we mentioned Spock from Star Trek.
Yeah.
And apparently our episode went out on the 6th of January.
Yeah.
And that is Spock's birthday, which is to have that sort of bizarre fact to your fingertips is crazy. But and Spock was born on the 6th of January, but he's not born until 2230. So that's a bit of a strange concept to go around. So we're talking about someone that's not born yet. And in fact, it's got another couple of 100 years. So I doubt you and I are going to be around to see the actual birthday, are we?
We're not going to be around.
We'll be quite old, won't we, in 200 years' time?
Yeah, I don't think we'll be around. Do you think Spock would enjoy Sideways?
I think it probably lacks an awful lot of logic. So no,
he certainly wouldn't understand the whole concept of starting a recording without pressing the record button, would he?
No, he wouldn't. That'd be most illogical. And I'd agree with him totally. Anyway, onto the subject matter then. Subject matter of, because I always like to have a dictionary definition, and when I looked this one up, it says that it is the process of being mentally stimulated to do or feel something, especially to do something creative, which is I always find that when I go to an art gallery or I watch, I don't know if you've ever watched Bob Ross. When he does his paintings, I mean, not only is he inspirational to think, oh my God, what he's producing there is fantastic. It's almost like meditation as well. He's got this real soft delivery. So that's always inspirational. I think a lot of people will watch that and think, oh, I'm going to have a crack at doing some oil painting.
Do you ever feel inspired when you look at my artwork?
I do in a different way. Should we just put it like that?
You probably feel gratitude actually when you look at my artwork.
Well, I'm going to come on to that because I've got a little quote for you later on, which addresses that point. So we'll park that one for a while, shall we? Anyway, when I was doing the research, there's a little quote that I found that I quite liked, and it said, "Inspiration is that moment that shows you the prospect of something being possible. something that once seemed unattainable. Mm-hmm. Possibilities are one of the biggest influences on our behaviour and our acceptance of a better life. And that's so true in the recovery community. Inspiration, it really is the backbone of our peer support groups. I mean, I was so inspired by people when I first went into recovery. I remember going in, and Aaron, who we've mentioned earlier on, he already had a year of sobriety under his belt. I've put under his bet there, which is I don't think that's quite what I meant to say there. We don't want to be running a book on how long we think people are going to stay sober for. But
no, that would be kind of giving with one hand and taking away with the other, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. But to me, that was a real inspiration. That the possibility that someone could go for a whole year without having a drink. I mean, I couldn't see past the end of the day. I really couldn't. It was inspirational just to see people that could do it. And I knew that, some of the backstories I listened to at that point were truly scary.
Do you think, one of the things you've spoken about before is that sometimes that inspiration you get from people who are in kind of long-term recovery, when you're new into recovery, can sometimes go the other way as well, can't it? That you can be almost cowed by the enormity of what they appear to have achieved when you're kind of on day 2 and they've done 10 years. And there's a kind of fine line, isn't there? There's a balance between something that would, and actually I think it's also to do with mindset, which we'll come on to talk about, but there's a difference between feeling inspired by that or feeling as if that is so amazing that you could never achieve it.
Often people will come into groups that would feel exactly that. They think, oh no, I'm never going to be able to attain that. And I'm sure that went through my mind when I first went in there. But certainly you're being around other people that have been sober for a week and sober for a month or so. You get inspiration from everywhere. Everyone that's in those groups, you get inspiration from people that come in that are just starting out on their journey. I mean, this week we had 2 people come to our face-to-face meeting who are just literally waiting for detox next week. And you can see the pain in their eyes, but you can see them taking in what we're saying, and it's inspiring to see them start on their journey and start to get the strength. I mean, it's inspirational enough to see them walk through that door. I remember how horrific that was. So it's everyone that comes into the groups have something to say and are inspirational in their own way. So I don't think the long-term sobriety. I think that. For me, it was a big inspiration, but I can see sometimes it can be off-putting if it is too far in advance. Yeah.
One of the observations I would make about you is that it seems that one of the things that really inspires you is determination and tenacity. Wherever it comes in the kind of narrative arc, it's like if you see someone who is determined, in this case, to invest in their recovery and to really, grasp the opportunities that they have, and will kind of push through even when things get tough. That always seems to me to be the thing that you find inspiring.
Oh, I do. I really do. People who flourish despite having massive setbacks in their life, I always find really inspirational. And I suppose generally inspired by the underdog. Right. I think we all like to see the underdog come through, don't we? And it's great to see that happen. And when I see people show against all odds, we have people coming to groups that are street homeless, and you think on top of everything, you've got that to deal with, or on top of all that's going on in your life, you've still got the courage to try and beat your addiction. And I'm inspired every day, every meeting I go to, I get inspiration.
Some people find inspiration in things more readily than others. What do you think it is that determines how easily you are able to find inspiration in other things or other people? Have you thought about that?
Well, I suppose the more open you are to it, the more open you are to different experiences. And I'll come on to this later on in my notes. The more open you are, the more likely you are to be inspired. And I think that being around people that inspire you with positivity and have a success of dealing with their issues. Yeah, I find that inspirational all the time. But on the other hand, on the other end of the scale, I think some people can say things sometimes that I find completely uninspirational. Just for example, one of the girls that came into groups recently, she said that the social worker had been round in just after Christmas and said to her, "Oh, I'm surprised you made it through Christmas without picking up." I mean, can you imagine how uninspiring that would be if someone said that to you?
God, that's dreadful. I mean, imagine she'd seen her before Christmas and said, "Well, I'll be surprised if you stay sober till January." I mean, she's more of an antisocial worker.
She needs to brush up on her customer services, that's for sure. I mean, it's a terrible way to behave. And when she said it in groups, everyone was saying, "Oh, that's how awful that is."
How did she respond to it? Did she take it in good part, or was she upset by it?
I think it must have been a little bit upsetting, but I think she felt by sharing it. It sort of got rid of that, really. And we were able to laugh about it and to take a more positive spin on it, certainly. But yeah, when she said it, I thought, oh my God, that's just that surely that's going to be counterproductive.
I imagine for most people in recovery, it must be helpful for the vast majority of people in recovery if people around them are able to assume that they are going to stay sober. It must make life easier, surely. Surely there must be very few people who respond to someone saying, "I don't think you can do this," can you?
Well, no, exactly. I mean, we spend the whole of our meetings really bigging people up about their achievements and give them support so that they can go forward. The last thing we do is say, "Oh, I'm glad you come to the meeting. Didn't expect to see you here this week. I thought you'd been out on the lash."
Exactly. I mean, but there's an important message there, isn't there, for people who might be listening to this, who might know someone who's in recovery and are worried about them, or, worried about them wobbling or not being able to sustain it. I think the message is you've really got nothing to lose by believing in them, have you?
Good point. No, you haven't. No.
Because the worst that can happen if you believe in them is that they will falter. But if you don't believe in them, to be honest, you're making it easier for them to falter, because it's like, nobody believes I can do this anyway, so maybe they're right.
I agree, and it comes back to really the story we were talking about earlier on in the Archers about Alice, and her friend obviously believed that she could have some positive influence on, and believed that Alice could do it, and so she was happy to take time out to go and see her and to help her on her way. If you're trying to think of people that inspire, or when I was trying to think of people that inspire me, I mean, I couldn't really think of any famous people particularly, because it's mostly people I know and I have personal relationships with.
People like me that inspire you, mean?
People like, well, I don't know if you'd say you're inspirational, but I'd say you get this sort of annoying buzzing noise in the background sometimes. You learn to live with it. You know what I mean? If your boiler's making a noise in the middle of the night, that's very much you.
You have to tough it out. You mean just ignore it, tune out.
That's it. Yeah, you can meditate your way out of that one quite easily.
Okay. So, could you come up with anybody famous that?
I suppose so. I mean, I think one of the first times I felt really inspired was when one of my art teachers gave me a book on Salvador Dali, and I remember looking through that and thinking, "Wow, this surrealism! I've never really tried it, but this looks fantastic." And it did inspire me to go on and do some surrealist stuff, and I loved it. But it sort of reminds me of a time when I was newly married and I was on holiday with my wife in Corsica, and there was a gallery there selling this Salvador Dali print, a signed print, all authenticated, and I really wanted it. And it was quite expensive. This is obviously back in the late 80s, and it was sort of 450 quid, something like that. And my wife wouldn't let me buy it. She said it was a frivolous purchase. And looking back on it now, it wasn't long after that Dali died in 1989. So as we know that art tends to go up in value quite dramatically posthumously. So looking back on it, it's a sore subject, but
it's probably sowed the seed of your eventual divorce.
Yeah, well, I probably rushed straight out of that art dealer, straight to the local cafe and got myself a few French lagers down. It's her fault.
It's interesting, the whole concept of something artistic being a frivolous purchase. I wonder if art can ever be a frivolous purchase. Because art, by its definition, is one of the places we find inspiration. And if we're inspired by something, then art becomes more than just a picture or a book or a piece of music, doesn't it?
It's vital. It's vital, which is why having it taught properly in schools by proper art teachers is the right way forward. It benefits society 100%.
Is your daughter sponsoring this episode?
She'd be happy I've said that, I'm sure.
No, it's very true. Actually, talking of teachers, I was just thinking about that. People that perhaps I have been inspired by, and I suppose when it's if I think about famous people, it would only be people. It would be people who I admire in the areas that I am interested in perfecting skills. So, cooks or chefs or writers that I particularly admire. So it would be those sorts of people. But then if I think about my personal life, they would be mainly either people who had coached me to do some of the things that I enjoy doing, like writing or cooking, or some of my therapists over the years. But in terms of teachers, I can remember, and I'm not sure too many of us have too many inspirational teachers, but I had a particularly inspirational teacher at secondary school called Rowena Finch, who taught me drama and English. And she was a real inspiration to me. You know, she was the one teacher that I can remember that I always felt as if I wanted to do my best work as much for her as I did for me. And I don't think those teachers come along very often, and they're very valuable when they do.
I agree. But Miss Finch, I remember, obviously my brother Paul, who you were in the school with, we used to tease him mercilessly about his relationship with Miss Finch. Because he was we always said that he had a crush on her, you know, and I know that he was inspired by her. He loved that teacher. He loved that lady, and we always teased him that there was more going on than just a student teacher relationship.
Well, Paul and I were very close to Miss Finch, and when we were doing school productions, you know, she used to invite us round to her flat, and you know, we'd go round for something to eat and stuff. And of course, these days you wouldn't get away with that, would you? It'd be terrible. They have the authorities would be all over it. There was nothing else. There was nothing else to it. So I think you were just making, you know, you were making something out of nothing there, you and Russ.
Well, you say that. I think the time, luckily, has drawn a little bit of a veil over it. So we'll move on. But I suspect the paparazzi from The Sun would have been round at her flat if that had been happening these days, that's for sure.
Well, the two most controversial things I ever remember about that were that she used to put sweet corn on the pizzas that she made, which is obviously everybody knows that. And the other thing was, and I didn't really think about it at the time, but on reflection, again, this really would have set tongues wagging. But she at the time one of her flatmates was our history teacher, Mr. Vidovich. And I can remember we were round there one evening and Mr. Vidovich came out of the shower with just a towel round her. So, you know, for young teenage boys to be in that sort of situation, that was probably, I expect we all sort of gave each other knowing glances and moved on. But
every schoolboy's dream, that one, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, it was. And she was, I seem to remember that she was every schoolboy's dream.
Someone else I think we were both inspired by, if we're thinking about famous people, was John Cooper Clarke. We went to see him, didn't we, down at the Marlow Theatre in Canterbury? And I think we both came out thinking, we're going to we'll have a crack at a bit of poetry. I remember thinking that to myself. I don't think I actually ever saw it through.
No, you're not ready to release an anthology yet then?
Not yet, no. But anyway, when I was doing this research, I looked at the Harvard Business Review website, which was
nice.
Quite highbrow, to be honest.
It was too highbrow for you.
There was a way above my station, really, but there was a lot on there. But there was some stuff on there that had been, or some blog work and various bits from a psychologist called Todd Thrash. I love that name.
Is he in a metal band?
It would be great, wouldn't he?
If he isn't.
Oh, he'd be the lead singer of Todd Thrash. Yeah.
No, he needs to be the guitarist, surely, with a name like Todd Thrash.
Probably. Yeah. It was. Yeah. But it was good. But what he was saying. I know there's so much in there. But one of the things that he was talking about was about inspiration being evoked spontaneously without intention. It's not something which you can create. You can't force inspiration upon yourself. It does come spontaneously. You can, I think you can push it along. It's something that happens sometimes without you even knowing it, or you weren't expecting it.
Yeah, you have to be open to it, as I think you said earlier. But but there is, I think of being open to inspiration in the same way as I think about gratitude. We've spoken before about how you tend to feel more gratitude the more you practice it. So the more you practice feeling grateful for things in your life, the easier it is to spot them. And I think the same is true of inspiration. The more open you are to inspiration, the more your antennae are kind of looking for it, the more likely you are to spot it in your surroundings. So I think that's true. You can't manufacture it, but the more open you are to it, the more likely you are to see things that you find inspiring. And in fact, probably the broader the scope of things that are inspiring to you.
You're right. I think he goes on to say, the lad Thrashy.
Thrashy.
I'm just enjoying saying the name, but he goes on to say that sometimes, you get inspired, you get this sort of a grand vision, or you suddenly see something that you've not seen before, but may have already been in front of you all along. So it may be something that you're inspired to do something, but it was waiting for you to sort of connect with it. But he also goes on to develop the inspirational scale. He talks about him developing the inspirational scale, which measures the frequency with which a person experiences inspiration in their daily lives. Now, it was a long-winded review I was reading through. So
he's taken that too far, hasn't he, then?
I think he may well have been. I mean, it's because he was saying that certain inspired people, or most inspired people, share certain characteristics. But again, I was trying to read it and I couldn't understand a lot of it. And
that's quite interesting. I might have to have a look at. If I look at Harvard Business Review, Todd Thrash, I'll probably come across it, won't I?
You will. It takes some wading through, but you can take out a few nuggets, which is what I did. And he was saying that exactly what we said earlier on, that those are open to new experiences are more often inspired. And exposure to inspirational people can have a great effect, and concluded that inspiration causes well-being as well, which I think we touched on that earlier on. But that suits your narrative as well, really, isn't it? Being in the well-being business.
Yeah, I think it's all kind of self-perpetuating, isn't it? Because the more you're involved in, so the richer your life, the more, or the wider the interests you have, or the more things you're involved with, the more you're likely to be seeking inspiration, and therefore the more you're likely to experience it. And then it becomes self-perpetuating, self-feeding. The more you feel inspired, the more you're likely to do, and the more you do, the more you'll be looking for and finding inspiration. So, I think the other thing to recognize, though, with inspiration is you can't live on inspiration alone. You can't just wait for it to fall across you. And I think that's true in artistic pursuits, or professionally, or even in recovery. I think we're in trouble if we say we can only, the only thing that will keep us moving forward is inspiration. To me, the way that I think about it is inspiration is fuel for you, and it'll keep you going through those kind of fallow periods where you're not feeling very inspired and everything feels like it's a real drudge.
Yeah, I think what's the old saying about, most things in life are a balance between inspiration and perspiration. I think so. You do have to put the work in, really, to sometimes to get to those. I'm sure I've heard it somewhere. I might have just made it up myself.
No, you haven't. This is 90% perspiration and 10% inspiration, isn't it?
It's based upon that, but I've taken the maths out of the equation to make it more palatable. It's my own version.
Yeah. No, but I think that's obviously that's a terrible cliche, but I think that is true, and that's kind of the point that I'm making. You have to work hard. You can't just rely on inspiration. Writers will say that. People like the idea of a life as a writer. I think that's nice, just getting up every day and writing a few words, but actually it's flipping hard work, because you have to do it day in, day out, and most of the time it'll be really hard, and it'll be really difficult to think of what you're going to do. And then occasionally you might get the muse might visit, but you can't rely on it, because you'd never eat.
Well, no, quite. And I think that Todd Thrash, he sort of covers this when he talks about that inspiration is not willed; it happens. And knowing this, it should free you from the pressure to make inspiration happen. which I think is an important point as well. You can't expect it to instantly be there. You can instantly engage with inspiration when you want it. And you do have to put some hard work in and white knuckle it for a while, which is, again, exactly like recovery until you get to that point where you're inspired to move on to the next level.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you just kind of stand and wait for it, you're going to stand still a lot of the time. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'll tell you, we'll turn it around a little bit and talk about things we're grateful for, shall we?
Oh, okay. That's a good idea. All right. Well, this week, shall I go first?
You can go first.
I know what you're going to say anyway.
You do, don't you?
I do. So, okay, on my gratitude list this week, I feel slightly ashamed of this because I know I'm very fortunate to be able to have this on my gratitude list when a lot of people won't, who are certainly people that are younger than me. But I'm just I've reached that age in my life now where I can take my pension, and I'm just in the process of taking my pension. And the pension that I have from my nearly 25 years in the corporate world is one of those gold standard final salary schemes. So I feel very, very grateful for, okay, I worked 25 years and I put money into that pension, but the financial security and flexibility it gives me, I feel very, very grateful for when, a lot of people, well, in fact, most people these days won't have any chance of creating that sort of nest egg for their retirement. And I can remember, mentioning corporate life before in my gratitude list. And although I did complain bitterly about some of the things I didn't like about it, as the years have gone by since I left the corporate world, I've certainly become increasingly grateful for some of the things it did give me. And this is one of them.
You've mellowed. It's the fade effect bias that we've talked about before. You can just see the good bits about it now, and all the horrific bits have been pushed to one side.
Yeah, I think that's pretty true, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, final salary schemes, as you know, I spent many years in the financial services area, and pensions was one of the area of my expertise. And yeah, the final salary schemes are incredibly expensive to run. They're an open-ended commitment to the company. So it's not surprising that no companies introduce them. No one puts those on the as part of their employment package anymore. They're way too expensive.
Yeah, although one thing that did happen when I was getting all the paperwork through that was sobering was I got an update from the pension scheme, and in with the update was a little booklet entitled Obituaries, and it had a big long list of all the people that have died since 2019. And I was going through this list, and the number of people I saw on that list that I used to work with was really quite, it really stopped me in my tracks. And I thought, there's something else to be grateful for, that I'm still breathing.
Well, exactly. But the actuaries are cheering those people that pass on, because it stops them having to fund them going forward. Yeah, they like those. They love those obituary columns. They put them on there with great glee.
Yeah, they might do. But as I say, I found it quite sobering to look at it myself.
Okay, well, we'll move on to my gratitude. What I'm grateful for this week. You
can't even say it, can you?
Say. No, I can't. We've recorded this twice now. I'm running out of steam. But yes, you already know what this is. You would have known what this is anyway, but having recorded this twice. My day out in London with Lizzie and Jake, my youngest daughter and her partner. It's always a joy to spend time with them. We went off to the Van Gogh immersive experience with the virtual reality tour thrown in, which was stunningly brilliant. And there was nothing else that I could put on my gratitude list this week, because that overtook everything.
That's lovely. Although I noticed you've slightly adjusted your pronunciation of Van Gogh since the last recording.
I know. I think I put too much of it emphasis on F at the end. Van Gogh. Van Gogh.
Van Gogh, and of course the Americans quite often refer to him as Van Gogh, don't they?
They do, yeah. Well, I
Van Gogh sounds like a removal company to me.
Man with a van, yeah,
exactly.
We cut off your ears. Well, I think it's that's the proper sort of Dutch pronunciation, isn't it?
I would have thought it was more Van Gogh, wouldn't it? Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
If there's any Dutch, actually, I don't know if we have got any Dutch listeners. Actually, I'm not sure we have. But if we have, and you can give us the correct pronunciation, do let us know. Not that we probably won't be mentioning him again in any other episode.
No, probably not, but it'll enrich your general life, won't it?
Exactly. Next time it comes up, I'll know how to pronounce his name.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Well, I was going to, at that particular immersive experience, there's the plaque on the wall. When I looked at it, I did take a picture of it as well, because I thought, that's very much up Graham Street. Right. So I'll just quote it to you. It says, "If you hear a voice within you saying you cannot paint, then by all means paint, and that voice will be silenced." So if Van Gogh says it, it's along the lines we talked about before with your when you stray into the art world when you put pen to paper.
Yeah, that's good enough
or
for
a
me.
brush to canvas.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think in my younger years, I probably would have been ashamed of doing anything artistic like painting or drawing because I would have considered myself so appalling at it. But I think one of the things that does change with age, and there have to be some compensations of getting older, it's that you care less, don't you? And so I find it much easier now to do things that I want to do, regardless of whether or not by any kind of external standard I'm any good at them.
We relax up, don't we, in the autumn of our lives?
Well, hopefully we do. I mean, if you are in the autumn of your life and you're listening to this and you haven't relaxed, then do.
Yeah,
just do.
Great advice.
Just let go, right? Just do it. If you want to do it, just do it. I mean, obviously not anything illegal, but
quite no.
Yeah,
that wouldn't be good. But I'm going to move on to the Spotify search then, if you're okay with that. There's a number of songs that came up, but there was one that's definitely not going on, which I think if you'd have been in charge at this point, you'd put it on, because it's by Chicago and it's called "You're the Inspiration," which is quite dreadful. But it sounds like every Chicago track, so they all sound very similar.
I don't think you can consider me a Chicago fan. I mean, I did like one of their songs, but I'm not familiar with all of their work.
I was going to put on "Inspiration" by the Gypsy Kings, which is a nice little instrumental.
Nice. I like the Gypsy Kings.
Yeah. That was quite close to going on, but one that wasn't close to going on was a track called "Inspirational" by Granny Norberg. I don't know if you've heard of Granny Norberg. Apparently, she's a character from children's books, but she does songs Norberg as well.
No.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm sure people out there may well know about Granny Norberg, but no, it was dreadful anyway.
There. Good.
No, I didn't. No, I went for a track called "Inspire" by a metal band from Sheffield called "While She Sleeps." Didn't Def Leppard come from Sheffield? They were from there, weren't they?
Yeah, they did, yeah.
Yeah. It's got a hotbed of heavy metal bands then.
Yeah, Sean Bean.
Sean Bean is from Sheffield. Yeah, he was. He's a Sheffield United fan. We haven't mentioned football in this episode, so good.
Yeah, you have, because you mentioned you were watching Barrow on ITV4 when I was in the repair shop.
Oh, yeah, we did put it in there,
yeah. So you mention football so regularly, you forget how often you mention it.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's one of the things I should I need a little bit of therapy on that, don't I? So it's not such an important part of my life.
Yeah, probably, but I can't work with you because it wouldn't be ethical.
Oh, no, I'll go to a good one, obviously.
Anyway, listen, are we done now? Because quite frankly, I'm fed up with talking about bloody inspiration.
Me too, mate. Yeah, cut it off right here and now.
Right, good.
Laters. Bye.
Bye. Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.